Hello and welcome to the Gambling Files podcast, the podcast that's in a real rush this morning. Now, there's good reason for that, and that's that Fintan has to be in a meeting, but we've been talking about things about the Gambling Book Awards and all the things we've got to finalise and how beautiful the trophies are. They really are beautiful. And the shortlist for the Gambling Industry Journalist of the Year Award, Jijoti, and all of those. Fintan, you've gone out of focus.
It's
For people who are just listening, that I don't know what's going on with. He's fucked. He's broken the internet. No, stay blurry. It's fine. It just means people can appreciate me on video more. So I'm John Bruford, one of your hosts, joined by Fintan Costello, your other host, who is blurry.
It's because I've already left.
Nah. But oddly enough, just before we started recording this, I got a phone call from Specsavers, and they want me to book an eye test.
This maybe I'm perfectly in focus. Who knows?
You are now. That's weird.
I'm back. See?
Whoa.
Should have called Specsavers.
So look, Fintan, this episode, it's Bruce Horner from Voltage.cloud, talking about crypto and stuff and payment layers and doing things efficiently and things.
Yep.
And that's nice. And Bruce is a nice chap. He's got nice hair as well for anybody who's watching video on a YouTube channel. If you're just listening, he's got nice hair. Fintan, this episode comes to you thanks to Clarion Gaming, who organise ICE, which is on next week. Next week, Fintan.
It's coming. We've been talking about it for so long now. There it is.
Very excited. We will both be at ICE. If you want to say hello, say hello. I might even be recording some podcast material at ICE. I'm not sure yet.
Ooh.
I'll probably have my laptop with me and just need to stick a microphone in it, but not do what I did last year, was put the microphone and the laptop in my bag, but not the microphone cable. Not my finest hour.
Classic, Joe.
Speaking of finest hours, we also have the Addiction an Hour with Our podcast. That's well worth checking out for anybody in RG or who's interested in getting addicted to stuff. Not that it's a how-to, it's very much not. And the other podcast we do, Desert Island Discs, where thought leaders and CEOs from the gambling industry share stuff that they want with them if they're stranded on a tropical island. Tropical island, not a desert island. Fintan, we have other sponsors. Can you think of any off the top of your head?
We've got Optimove, gambling industry's #1 CRM software. They will be at ICE in force. Visit their stand, get the demo, tell them the podcast sent you.
Oh, yeah.
And other sponsor is EveryMatrix.
EveryMatrix. Well, are they though? Are they? I don't think they've renewed for this year.
Oh, I've not. Well, then fucking cut. No. EveryMatrix is there as well. They've usually got a couple of different stands because they do so much. Amazing swag last year.
But again, it's where if you can go get a demo on the EveryMatrix booth, go
that
get it.
That too, not just for the swag, but really good swag.
Well, I don't know because I didn't see any of it. You've still got it.
I'm wearing it right now.
Anyway, enjoy the episode. Thank you. Welcome to the Gambling Files podcast. I think this is our first episode of 2026. It's so hard to tell. Oh, fuck. No. Yeah, hang on. No, it is. This is our first episode of 2026.
It's the first one we're recording. It's not the first one we're publishing.
No, it is the first one. It's the first one we're... No, I think it is, Fintan. I think
we had a backlog of stuff before Christmas.
Yeah, but I put something out Christmas Day.
Did you?
You put 2 episodes out on Christmas Day.
You really hate your family. You just want to go walk the dog, listen to a podcast.
Don't be so negative.
The man is dedicated.
Well, I scheduled them, and it's not like I had to turn the computer on, although I spent Christmas Day on my own. It sounds sad, but it wasn't. It was perfectly nice. But I'm thinking, no, you're right. It's the second episode. 2 episodes went out Christmas Day, which was Marcus. He was terrific. And it was Exgenia. They went out Christmas Day. And I scheduled one for January the 1st, so this is our second episode for the new year. I am very sorry. I'd like to apologize to Open Slots for getting that so wrong. So wrong. But and I recorded the intros by myself because you were
Fucked if I was going to do it.
yeah, basically I recorded the intros like
You didn't even ask, which I like. I appreciate that. It was no like, hey, you've got a quick 10 minutes. Just no boundaries.
Well, one of us needs to have boundaries, Fintan.
I think so. It might as well be me.
Yeah. Well, that's how you've become a successful businessman, and I'm a downtrodden whelp.
Yeah.
So I'm not complaining about my place. I know it.
Should we talk to our guest?
Well, we could. But that's just what they'd be expecting us to do.
Keep them guessing.
Keep guests and listeners on their toes at all times.
As they
but
should.
actually, we are joined by, and I'm not going to make any jokes about your name, okay? None.
It's a strong name, all right, but it's either a gay uncle or you're a badass with the name Bruce. It's one of the two.
I've got no issues with Bruce. Bruce Campbell is possibly the greatest actor of our time. And kudos to any listeners who know who Bruce Campbell is and don't have to look him up. But there was a recording artist who was particularly prominent in the mid to late 1980s called Bruce Hornsby. Had a backing band called The Range. Bruce Hornsby and The Range famously did a song called The Way It Is. I'm not going to mention him again.
All right. Fair enough.
Because it's not the same name as yours. You are Bruce Horner. And you are Director of Sales at Voltage. Now, Bruce, what does Voltage do?
Voltage is a lightning infrastructure provider for B2B businesses.
Did you say a lightning infrastructure?
Lightning infrastructure, yes, for the Lightning Network.
Oh, right. Sorry, that's the thing. I was thinking like, fucking, how do you give structure to lightning? I mean, it's totally random.
They've bottled it. So what's Lightning Network? Yeah, so Lightning Network is you have Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the layer one that everyone knows. And I like to think of Bitcoin or layer one as sort of like your savings account. Think of Lightning layer two as, your Bitcoin checking account, if you will. It allows for cheaper and faster transactions of Bitcoin.
Okay, well, that sounds good.
Business must be good then. We've certainly hit a pretty big spike for sure.
Okay. Now, I mean, Bitcoin and all of that's Fintan's specialty. I'm more of a real world kind of a person, but
I think we're at the limits of my knowledge of this. So, okay, so
I want to know what's created the spike, though.
That's a good question. Yeah, I think I'll be honest with you. If you were to invite me on this podcast, even 4 months ago, in the world of gaming, it would be very, very limited in what I know. And I would still say that it's fairly limited, but we've had this huge spike, and part of that has been in iGaming. And it's for a lot of the reasons that I just mentioned. So, and there's a number of other factors, right? Different leadership in place, but and for on our side here in the States, Square, Jack Dorsey's company, basically unraveling Lightning to all Square merchants. And I'm not sure if Square is in Europe or across the pond or not. Actually, it is. It's the little Square is available. Yeah, you can get it at farmers markets. Yeah, it's a little payment terminal where you can just tap and pay kind of thing. Yeah. So yeah, there's a number of tailwinds. Tether announced that they're going to be minting over the Lightning Network. So yeah, there's a lot of things just coming into play all at the right time. And okay, so
from a all right, so the original premise. So if we kind of just unpack this a little bit, right? The original premise of Bitcoin was to allow frictionless payments, low cost, and like the famous use case is the low paid worker remitting money back to his family overseas and getting ripped off by Western Union or whatever, and they could do it with crypto or with Bitcoin, and it would save money, and they don't need bank accounts, etc. Then Bitcoin turned into a tool for speculation rather than a tool for payment processing, and the fees actually became expensive, which made those kind of small transactions practically unfeasible as far as I understand, or doable but expensive, and you can make mistakes and cost you more than the actual transaction. And I know I'm not 100% right, but just that kind of general vibe of like it just disconnected from its original foundation myth or thesis. So Lightning Layer sits on top of Bitcoin if we take Bitcoin as the payment method, just as what most people would know as crypto. What is it doing where, like, what's happening there where these transactions are cheaper?
Yeah, how does adding something make it cheaper?
Yeah, so I think you're pretty spot on. I'll also say that it just Bitcoin allows you to be unbanked, but you're right. If I go to pay for a cup of coffee, and it's a $5 cup of coffee, but 250 of that is going to be in on-chain fees, that doesn't really make a lot of sense. So without getting too technical, what Lightning is able to do is essentially go off chain. So it's peer to peer. So everything starts with Bitcoin and ends with Bitcoin, but you have to sign a transaction at the end of the day. So it's kind of like going into one of my engineers always says this. It's like going into a bar, right? You're not going in there and you're not placing and you're paying for every single drink at the time. It's like a bar tab. So I can have a connection with you, John, have a connection with you, Fenton, and I sit down and instead of paying for each drink one by one, it's, hey, I'm doing these transactions while in the bar, but I'm settling up with you before I walk out of the bar. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So if we look at it from a financial markets perspective, it's OTC trading, right? So it's over the counter versus exchange. So the deal takes place like in OTC, over the phone or email or messenger or whatever it's going to be, and then both sides settle up, record their trades, and settle up, and it gets recorded 3-4 days later, rather than in the moment on the exchange. So this is basically that, just it's all digital.
What it's just not. Well, I'll say that the beauty about Lightning is that it's instant. So the 3 to 4 days.
Oh yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But how long? Okay, if we use the bar tab analogy, how long? If I'm buying this coffee, how long is the bar tab open for?
As soon as the other person essentially signs the transaction. So once, for instance, if I scan a QR code, right, that is going to happen instant. And again, without like getting into some of the other the more technical details of exactly the ins and outs of it. The beauty of Lightning is that if I scan a transaction, or you send me over a code, that is going to be able to happen instant. And it's one of the reasons why that's also been something within iGaming that has been appealing. It's not obviously the only payment method that's instant, but Lightning allows for that.
Okay, but then on a one-off transaction, why is the fees cheaper?
I think because it's not. I think it's because it's not happening on chain, right? And so everything is happening off chain, and so you're able to cast this. You're able to have different
But for one transaction. So like I get it from a like I can see what you're saying, like from a gambling perspective. So a customer logs in, the Lightning account gets created or whatever you want to do.
Lightning
We're
wallet.
doing we're doing our back and forth transactions. So there's multiple like payments in, payments out, multiple stuff happening during a session. Which I get. And then at the end of the session, effectively that transaction history, like then it's like, opening balance, closing balance gets recorded on the blockchain.
Mm-hmm.
But for a one-off transaction, why would it be cheaper?
I think the biggest factor is that I don't have to have just a direct connection with you, Fintan, right? I can have a connection with you, John.
It's like a PayPal account. So
yeah, like
I'm paying with like a wallet, and all the wallet transactions are off chain. So it's not that my account, it's not that I'm doing a direct transaction with the coffee shop owner. I'm doing a direct transaction with the wallet owner is taking care of everything off chain, and then effectively settling up with all the merchants, like a PayPal or a Skrill or a NetTeller or whatever it would.
Yes, and then I would also say too, what's it casts a wide net, because I could have a connection, or I could have a channel open with John, right? Not have one with you, Fintan, but you can have a connection. John and Fintan, you all can have a connection, but that payment can still reach you even with me not having a direct connection with you, Fintan. So it just became it creates this web. And then Lightning just, instead of having to have multiple hops.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I understand. And I can obviously then I can see why the gambling industry is loving this, because transaction fees are probably one of the biggest expenses, right?
Yeah, it's for sure. And, I would say that, yeah, Visa, MasterCard, depending on, you hear mixed and blended rates, but it's ridiculous. And in our world, I'll say with exchanges or other wallets, they typically pass those fees on to the users. Like the users has to take on that fee. And exactly why what you had mentioned in terms of gaming, why this is so interesting is because it was unbeknownst to me, but these gaming operators have been taking on these fees. And it's obviously for us, but just as someone who's been novice within gaming, it was just, I love doing back of the napkin math and figuring out where savings can happen. And it's been really rewarding just speaking with gaming companies, and that exact reason, walking through how much, essentially creating a new revenue stream.
Yeah, well, a couple of percent makes a hell of a difference.
Well, if it's percentages per transaction, and particularly for like if you're more of a pure play crypto brand, you could be doing instant cash out, right? So there's not even an account balance, so winnings are getting paid directly back to the user, which gets very expensive. What does privacy look like on the Lightning Network
in terms of privacy? So we're SOC 2 Type 2 certified, and we're providing our infrastructure is non-custodial, and so we're just managing the payments. We do have a reflex, and I'll say like some companies that not just us, but I'll say just other Lightning providers as well. You can have something like a reflex that is monitoring transactions on there, but in terms of privacy, there's Lightning, again, it starts with Bitcoin, ends with Bitcoin, and you can see from your portal or from your perspective, if you're operating and running and managing Lightning, you could see the transaction history. But in terms of privacy, I guess the short answer is it's extremely private. It's one of the jokes that like I have on there, or that when we were speaking, it was just like, man, well, if you have somebody that's that likes to play some bets on the side, it's like, man, do you really want to always have your wife that's monitoring and looking and seeing a transaction
Yeah, because I suppose that's my question. Because obviously with crypto, if you know the starting wallet, you can trace payments and where stuff's gone. Is Lightning using some sort of mixing or onion protocol or something to kind of obscure the hops, or how is it managed?
Yeah, so as of right now, you can. I'm drawing a blank on the. Um, there's like an elliptic that some companies that you would be able to kind of monitor in or have that if you wanted to audit every single transaction. Today we don't use an elliptic or anything like that. What we're really monitoring is just that there's no one that's on the OFAC list, right? Like transactions aren't coming from North Korea, but on our side, we're just handling the payments piece of it. So the privacy is sort of you know a la carte in there, and if you want to add an elliptic or something that is the same or adjacent to monitor each transaction, you can certainly do that. But we don't have that today.
Okay, because I think what I'm building up to is like from a gambling industry perspective, how do obviously is you know AML requirements are a big deal for a lot of operators, and how that interacts with the Lightning Network if there's a lot of transactions happening off chain. So
Yeah.
like source of funds, these kind of things kind of kick in.
Right. And so that's where the non-custodial piece comes in, where you're managing your Lightning. You have that, and it's just simply just handling the payments, but it's connected. Your node, right? Everything starts with a node, and then really, if you're getting a transaction, let's say that you're using Coinbase, one of your users is using Coinbase. Coinbase is KYCing that individual, and they have that information, so they know where that source of funds is. And our node or any Lightning node, they're going to be able to transact to that node. And what a company like Reflex, Amboss Reflex, can do is it can just really monitor whether or not like it's coming from North Korea or anything like that. Other than that, it's really on the Coinbase in that example of KYCing that individual, and then blocking that individual from being able to send something if there is nefarious funds, if you will.
Okay, but if we go back to your node example of Bruce can pass it to John, John can pass it to Fintan. If Fintan's the client of the casino, and how so the money hasn't come from Coinbase, what happens in those types of scenarios?
It would be automatically blocked. So it would, and that's not necessarily on the node. It's more of like a call it I guess like a channel, right? So or each node, like if there's a node with let's say voltage, and then there's a node with a river, right? So a channel's already set up there. River and that individual, they're KYC'd by River. We're not doing the KYC. We have an SLA in place with a River, for example. They're doing the KYC on those individuals. And in the example that you're saying is maybe the other individual is connected through the Lightning Network through a Coinbase, but either way, they're KYC'd on their end. So if there's anything that is nefarious, then it just wouldn't go through, if the individual hasn't been properly KYC'd. It's not like somebody could just um, create a lightning account with any wallet. It's a two-sided marketplace. Both sides you have to be Lightning enabled. The other side has to be Lightning enabled, and on that side, they have to already have uh, been KYC'd, and have a profile, if you will. And then it's really on the responsibility on the Coinbase or the River, because again, We're just providing the infrastructure for that transaction to take place.
Okay, so in terms of your River example, or like one of these Lightning enabled wallets, who's regulating? So obviously they're KYCing. Who's regulating that? Who's regulating them on their KYC procedures and their AML source of funds procedures?
That's a good question. I'm not exactly sure on like who would be regulating them specifically.
Okay, because there's obviously like, there's the we KYC everyone, and then there's the companies that actually do it, right? So it can be, I'm guessing there's a range of complaint, like depending on the country they're in. Like it could be kind of like we're KYCing as per our country's regulations, but that mightn't be the same as what would be required in the UK or in the US, right? So every country's got a different view on these things. So it's just curious to understand like what levels, or what, like as an operator, what control do I have as to where these funds are coming from?
And that's where like
improve that chain of like safety.
For sure. And that's where like a company like a BitGo, like a custodian, companies will use them for their licenses. Same thing with a Fireblocks, for example. They'll use them for licenses for that exact reason, and custodying their funds. So without knowing like River, there's a high probability that maybe they're working with a BitGo for that exact reason, AML, and having the licenses.
Okay. But really, it's the operator needs to. Yeah. Okay, I understand.
So, right. I was just thinking while you were having a highbrow conversation there. I was thinking that one way around the AML issues, that obviously that Bruce has answered those questions, but stop me if I'm wrong, but crypto offering operators in the past may have been viewed with some suspicion by what I might call the regulated gambling industry. There's kind of a lot of regulated operators are looking at or are developing their crypto offering. Mm-hmm. There's still an awful lot of offshore operators who are, I don't know how to phrase this politely. This is really bad, isn't it? Fuck, Fintan, yeah. Help.
So look, there's a wide range of compliance with the laws within the industry. A spectrum, if you will.
I love it. Yeah.
And different interpretations of said laws.
Interpretations, yeah.
Depending on the jurisdictions. Traditionally or historically, the crypto guys have been deemed as the Wild West, the black market, the offshore, because of the nature of crypto and the ability of crypto to move. If you're in a country like, if you're in Australia where online casino is illegal, depositing with crypto into an offshore casino is the easiest way for you to play casino games online in your country.
Yep.
And there's company, and they'll have a license from whatever jurisdiction, and they believe that they can legally offer these services, etc. So that's kind of the historical background for this. And it's probably back to John now for his question.
Yeah, so everything Fintan said. How long has Voltage been in existence? Do you know?
Going on 6 years.
So going on 6 years. So historically, maybe the business has some experience of those grayer operators on that spectrum.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure where the question is in what I'm saying here. I'm not saying is Voltage dodgy, because as we have recognized on this podcast many times, there isn't a clean hand in the industry,
no.
Except for mine. These bad boys. No, it's. Do you see the sort of? I can't really call it the legitimization of crypto, because I think everybody recognizes that the technology has an awful lot of brings an awful lot of benefits. As in the blockchain bit, brings an awful lot of benefits. But do you think this sort of move towards legitimization or mainstreaming, let's call it mainstreaming crypto, do you think that's going to provide like massive growth, or do you think the bulk of crypto transactions are still going to be in the grey area of the market? I mean, in all honesty, if somebody doesn't need to trade in crypto, is there any need for crypto transactions in regulated gaming?
Yeah. So there's a lot there. So if I don't answer everything, please jump in there. And by gray markets, can we just like are we thinking like sweepstakes companies, for example, or in that area, just so we're on the same page, like when you're thinking of gray market?
It's typical. Well, gray market. It's typically gray or dark gray. So yeah,
Okay.
it could be sweeps. It could be offshore casinos taking customers from where online casino is illegal.
Yeah. So there's Bitcoin and then there's crypto, right? I see on some websites where they have so many different cryptocurrencies that are listed, and I've got to say, from a user perspective, it's one kind of daunting, because it's just like you don't know what the hell it is. You don't know what what this token is or what you're going to do with it. We call them shitcoins. So I guess like that on the side of dodgy or whatnot, on our side, like we worked really hard for a SOC 2 Type 2 certification, which no other Lightning provider can. But this, I don't want to make this about voltage. Let's just talk about the principles of Bitcoin. And with Bitcoin, right, and with the ability with Lightning, a lot of people look. I invest in Bitcoin, and many people just don't want to spend their Bitcoin, right? Would you all kind of agree with that? With the census of people that own Bitcoin, they really don't want to spend it because it's appreciating.
Yeah.
Right. So when I look at it as, hey, is there really like a need to trade crypto? No, not if there's not an incentive, right? Because if there's not an incentive for me as a user, as the player, then no, like I don't want to use my Bitcoin. But when you look at from the gaming side, and when you look at from an operator's perspective, and what currency, if you're going to go the digital currency route, which one would you want to use? You'd want to use the one that is the most decentralized, the most trusted, the one that has been around the longest, and that is Bitcoin as a fact. Now, what can you do as an operator when you know that you can save, 3 to, I don't know, I think a blended rate is probably 3%. Would you say like Visa, MasterCard in terms of what they're charging? I've heard as high as like 4%.
It'll depend on the country. It can be significantly higher.
So, when you have that, now from an operator standpoint, one of the things that I've brought up as an idea is, hey, why not say, hey, boost your bet, or boost your playing experience with an extra 10% or something like that, by funding with Lightning, because you can save so much on transaction fees. So now, me as a user, me as a player, now I have an incentive to actually use with Bitcoin. And I think it's also worth mentioning too that it hasn't been necessarily easy to just to fund with Bitcoin, right? Unless you're somebody that has a Coinbase or a River or some of these larger exchanges, and you're familiar with that operation. What's been really interesting with Cash App here in the States is that initially in some of the grayer markets, Cash App was really used much of the time in terms of funding these accounts. And then Cash App really started cracking down. But Cash App now enables Lightning and Lightning payments. And now it's just very easy for you to hop in your Cash App account, buy Bitcoin, scan a QR code of Lightning, and then fund directly. So I'll pause there because I don't know if I answered the question directly. Maybe I answered part of it, and maybe there's still something unremaining. But that's generally like that's my thought, and what I'm seeing in the conversations that I've been having with operators. I think you're muted.
No, I have some questions and they might be stupid. I'm muted,
Never.
so I didn't ask any stupid questions. It's safer that way, as Fintan well knows. First, possibly stupid question. You said oldest, best known, most decentralized. Isn't decentralization like an absolute? Can something be more decentralized than something else? It's either centralized or it's not centralized.
Yeah, so okay, that's fair. So we'll say decentralized. Fair enough.
Okay, I just didn't know if there was a bit of nuance there that I was missing through ignorance, frankly. Is it, and I'm sorry if you've answered this already, but is what you do, is it working with just Bitcoin?
Yes, Bitcoin, but soon Tether. Tether announcing that they're going to be minting over the Lightning Network. That hasn't happened yet. It was announced last January, but once we're already prepared from day one, the ball's kind of in Tether's court to be able to transact with Tether over Lightning.
What makes Tether another suitable currency to work with? Are there specific attributes to the? Because I mean, there's fucking millions of different cryptocurrencies out there. Many of them apparently worthless.
Yeah, agreed. Tether Tether and USDC. They're pegged to the US dollar, so we call them stable coins, and so it's funny. Not to go off on a rant, but I heard this from actually an executive at MasterCard. Is they kind of at a dinner, he was like, medical marijuana wasn't just completely recreational, at least here in the States. I don't know what it is in the across the pond, but it wasn't initially recreational. It started with, it was medical, and now it's become recreational in some states. And it's funny because he kind of used stable coins as the first iteration before Bitcoin becoming the most used currency, right? Whether that happens, I'm not here to debate that or not, but I just thought that was funny. But to answer your question, it's a stable coin, and so that makes it more appealing, I think, for users, especially users that may not be very crypto savvy. They like something that's not going to fluctuate, because Bitcoin does fluctuate, right? So that is
totally.
one of the concerns.
But that's related to one of my coming questions, because the stable coin idea, the principle of tethering to or anchoring with a fiat currency, I find it really interesting, and like logically it makes total sense. But I also find it as funny as fuck, because I've heard so many people saying, oh, yeah, it's decentralized, it's not answerable to none of your banking shit. And people actually quite like the stability that comes with being tethered to some banking shit.
And it's fully, but then there's the whole, like, is Tether a Ponzi scheme stories as well, right? Like, it's an Italian plastic surgeon, and, they've paid fines for misstating their reserves to the US government, and they're not really audited.
But what you've got
mining on the network, I think, is them actually talking about, like, not being one-to-one backed, right? They're going to start basically acting like a central bank and start printing cash, right? So fractional reserves. So Tether's but if Tether collapses, the whole crypto ecosystem, I think, collapses with it.
But it's interesting that some of what you talked about there, Fintan, is it's very, very similar to the issues that governments and banking have, which is why regulation exists.
But the whole crypto, like if you look at every crypto scandal and every crypto collapse and every crypto scam and everything, and then if you've ever read like the history of the financial markets and the history of the stock exchanges and the history of public companies and all these kind of things, effectively crypto is just reinventing all of the past mistakes. And this is why we have so much regulation around financial transactions and being a publicly listed company or issuing shares or these kind of things, because all of this stuff has happened over the last hundreds of years, and crypto is basically reinventing or rediscovering all of these scams and issues, and regulation is massively behind and catching up. So it's effectively just parallel finance industry or traditional kind of banking industry.
Plus, what's really interesting is that an awful lot of currencies, and I am thinking of you, pound sterling, have gone the way of the, it was, fucking hell, let me think. How old am I? Mid-90s, Gordon Brown became Prime Minister of the UK, or Prime Minister of England, and he sold off a shitload of gold from reserves. And I'm pretty sure it was Brown that did this. He untethered, he removed the gold standard.
Oh, no, that happened long before Brown.
I don't think that happened long before Brown.
No, it was the Bretton Woods Agreement that happened like after World War II.
Yeah.
No way, it wasn't that long ago. My arse.
Let me Google Bretton Woods Agreement for you.
Okay, but don't type noisily. I know it makes you angry. But the thing is,
he did sell a load of gold.
He did sell a load of gold and a load of NHS land.
1944.
But that's not after World War II, so I've exposed you as a liar, Fintan.
Created a post-World War II international monetary system.
But point is, without that...
the
point is...
That was the agreement. Hang on a second.
But the point is that without a real-world asset to balance against...
1971. It was Nixon.
I wasn't terribly far away. I said 30 years. I was out by 20. Yep. I was over halfway there.
It was after World War II.
It definitely was. So I think we're both right there. But without that real world balance, without that real world asset, it introduces greater volatility to currency, and currency is wide open to manipulation, as Elon Musk demonstrates most days, and as Brexit demonstrated so vividly in the UK. And all those fucking Tories that hedged against, they made many millions. The
Rishi Sunak did.
Cheating bastards. But it's the volatility that cryptocurrency is criticized for is not limited to cryptocurrency.
Yeah, but it's if you think in terms of bands, right? So under pretty normal circumstances, like the dollar GBP exchange rate is fairly stable over a medium period of time. And obviously there's shocks and stuff where things move and it's a bigger thing. But banks or central banks can intervene, change interest rates around and manage those kind of things. With crypto, you don't have, well, unless some of the big whales come in and start buying or whatever, you don't really have that ability to change things. And then it's, on a day-to-day, but if you think in terms of bands, the day-to-day volatility of crypto or Bitcoin is quite a lot in comparison. So if you're getting paid in crypto, your bank balance is in crypto, and it's like your day-to-day transactions, it's you could wake up 50% poorer tomorrow. Where if your money is in sterling or dollars, that's probably, it could happen, but it's a much lower probability of it happening.
It's really hard to picture 50% poorer.
Negative, right?
Fuck that.
So that's kind of the, you know, and if you're trying to run a business and you got to pay staff and salaries and stuff,
Yeah.
you know, it gets
You
really
need
tricky.
consistency. You need to be able to predict shit.
Yeah,
But Bruce, this does bring me to a question. We haven't forgotten that you're here. And this probably is a stupid question, right? Say a player comes in and they play a session on one of your clients' casinos, right? They're doing well. It's a long session. Given the day-to-day relative volatility of crypto coin assets, what happens if that player's session bridges a dip or a rise in the value of what they're gambling with? What happens?
Because it's still Bitcoin being transacted, right? So you just put your Bitcoin in, you get your Bitcoin out. What your Bitcoin is worth in dollars has changed, but you've still got 5 Bitcoin, for example.
Right.
So if you've deposited 5 Bitcoin and you've won 10 Bitcoin, but the price of Bitcoin is halved, you still own 10 Bitcoin.
So maybe this is something that I'm just fundamentally misunderstanding here, which, let's face it, it's not the first time. So it's because I've never played on a crypto casino. I've never done this, so this is a voyage of discovery for me. Does that mean if I'm playing on a crypto casino, everything I'm seeing is in crypto on the screen? It's not translating it into currency. It's and I don't mean really translating it into currency. I mean for visual purpose, translating it into currency.
It'll depend on the operator. So some will just keep it in your coin. Some, your crypto is your deposit method. So you're depositing Bitcoin, but they're turning it into dollars.
Just for the visual.
No, it's literally you've just bought dollars. Or you've sold Bitcoin and you've bought dollars. You're now sitting on dollars.
But you see what I mean? If that's the case, I could get more dollars, surely. See what I'm saying?
Well, you've got to do a transaction back again.
Yeah. So, for instance, we have, if you don't mind, like
go.
Yeah. So with for instance, we have something that's credit backed, where we actually, it's only US based and we have lines of credit. And so this is, and for, I think it's 46 of 50 states. And what this allows for an operator now is that, all right, you don't want to hold Bitcoin. Okay. You can use our Bitcoin. And if you have, for instance, if you have a credit line of $1 million and you have, 250,000 of sends, well, you're now on the hook for 250,000. But you can also have lines of credit or lines of fiat credit, or USD lines. Now that could be where you could just deposit. A player could use Bitcoin to deposit in. But if they wanted to pull out and they wanted to pull that bank or pull that in fiat, they could do that. And the same thing for the operator as well, right? Bitcoin can come in and then that can auto convert into USD, and they can have USD deposited directly in their bank. So, that's something where it's kind of like it's a nice blend for operators.
I've got a nagging thought in the back of my mind, but I can't quite figure out how to express it. But there's an AML question in there, and I can't quite think of what it is. But no, you've already answered Fintan's questions on AML. I'm sure I'm just thinking out of my ass.
So user deposits Bitcoin. Then what happens?
Well, let's just give it it's a scenario, right? So they have that option, right? Like they could deposit in Bitcoin.
Yep.
So, and they're playing a game, and let's say that there are other options, right? There's Visa, debit. If they wanted to deposit out, and debit,
Yep.
they could have that option.
Oh, okay.
For the operator, in the example of the credit back that we have, right, someone can fund in Bitcoin, and that can auto convert into USD, so that
Yep.
when that goes in. Now, if you just want to hold on to USD, they can do that. And if they want to deposit the funds of Bitcoin into their bank account in USD,
Yeah.
they can do that. Now, I will say that there's like we're lending, right, and we had to get lending licenses in there
Why is it lending then?
because it's not their Bitcoin, it's our Bitcoin, and so we have to. We're not really making money off of it. Again, like on our side. And I think River also is.
But if user deposits, okay, so when you say user deposits Bitcoin, they're not depositing with the operator, they're actually depositing with you, effectively, on behalf of the operator.
Yes.
Okay. And then you're going to lend, so you're not doing an FX transaction. You're giving the operator fiat based on the assets held from the client.
Yeah, we're sort of it's a.
So the collateral is the client deposit on your wallet, and then so you're doing asset-backed lending for dollars to allow the operator to cash the user out, say via bank wire or check or deposit onto a card.
Yeah,
Okay.
Ace. Yeah, Ace.
Yeah. Okay. So for John, what's your spidey senses tingling is typically operators will only cash out to the payment method. So they typically don't allow cash out to, basically whatever you deposit with is what you get the money back on.
Yeah.
You can't move it around to different payment methods, and that's typically obviously depending on the jurisdiction, but that will be a pretty common rule in a lot of places.
Okay, thank you. You've been very helpful today with translations.
It's one of my superpowers.
Thanks. Just imagine what this episode would have been like without you here, Fintan.
Really quick. Or movie trivia heavy.
No, that's not true. Do you play any instruments, Bruce?
I do not.
It's disappointing.
I know. My wife found her recorder. I didn't even know that was an instrument. But yeah, not my cup of tea.
Fintan, do you play any instruments?
No, that's not for me. I'm not musically inclined.
The piano would have been awesome.
Yeah. Would have been very on brand for you, I think. But just for the record, I also don't play any instruments. Just in case anybody's wondering.
I would have taken you for a cello man, but
Now, cello is my favorite instrument.
Really?
Yes.
It's funny. I saw somebody playing the harp, and I was like, man, when's the last time you saw that? Like
in Ireland, quite a lot, because there's definitely like dedicated buskers.
Yeah, every other busker.
I'll stand by this. One of the best experience. So we did three weeks in Europe. This was like four years ago before we had kids, and I'll still stand by this. There is nothing more electric than in Ireland. Just a man playing the fiddle and singing Galloway Girl. I was just like, like the Guinness just flowed like the rivers of Babylon. It was amazing.
Yeah. Or Tuesday, as we like to call
it. Yes. I have never been to Ireland.
Really?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I know. I don't know how I've managed that, but I have.
So where you both sit right now?
I'm in Amsterdam.
Okay.
I'm in Wales.
10-4. 10-4. Also had a chance to go to Amsterdam recently for. Were you at Money 2020?
No, I'm not paying that kind of money for a ticket. It's fucking ridiculous. It's
The name of the event comes from the price of the event, presumably.
Oh, you wish. You wish it was that cheap. But yeah, it's a huge event here.
Yeah.
Was it any good? Was it worth it?
Yeah, it was definitely worth it. And yeah, if nothing else, it was just worth it just to go to Amsterdam. I'll say I got closer to God though, because I took my wife and my 1-year-old, and she was definitely that child on the plane. It was, man, the commitments I made just to get that baby to be quiet.
I've seen people do lovely things on flights with kids. They make like a little bag and they give it to all the people around them, saying, yeah, we've got a kid. Yeah, they're probably going to cry. Have some sweets and shut your fucking mouth before you open it.
Man, we should have done that. I'll tell you, at one point, I was holding the baby, and the attendant was just like, "Hey, you've just been walking up and down the aisles. Why don't you let me hold her and go sit down, just take a load off?" I was like, "That sounds like a brilliant idea." I went back and I sat down, and my wife just looks at me. She's, "Where's our child?" Just like, "It's with the attendant." She's like, "It's with the what?" "It's with the attendant." I was like, "Yeah, it sounded like a great idea."
But you can always tell the difference between who has kids and who doesn't have kids in those scenarios. So anybody around you with kids doesn't even hear your baby because it's not their baby, so they just don't care. So the only people getting upset are people with kids or without kids.
I know, and it's just like I want to be able to, like, next time I'm with or somebody's behind me that has a kid, I just want to just tell them, like, "Hey, just so you know, like, if your face gets red because the baby starts crying, like, don't worry about me. Like, I'm completely, I get it."
It doesn't even touch me. I don't even hear. Like, I'm fucking delighted. It's not my problem.
Yep, I know that at the end of this flight, I'm going to go about my day, and your kid's not going to be in it.
I'm going to watch this movie. Lock in. Good stuff.
Good times. So, Bruce, where can people find you and find Voltage?
So we're at voltage.cloud. You can find me on
Voltage. What?
.cloud.
Did you just make that up?
I am not.
Lightning.cloud would have been a great one.
Yeah, that was probably already taken.
You think?
Yeah, voltage.cloud. You can find me on LinkedIn. And our VP of marketing, Bobby, we put out a lot of really great content. Again, gaming. I think we're putting out a gaming report that'll probably be out in the next 3 weeks or so. So, be on the lookout. Be on the lookout there, and yeah.
Well, Fintan, you know something that we haven't said this episode?
What haven't we said this episode?
Sponsorships are available.
They are available. They are available.
Bruce, thank you very much for joining us. Actually, Fintan, this is going to go out before ICE. Are you at ICE, Bruce?
Yes, we'll be there.
Are you exhibiting or just gadding about?
Exhibiting.
That's exciting.
So yeah, we have a booth, and we'll be hosting a dinner too. So if you all don't have any, if your dance card's not full, we'd love to have you.
Very kind. Thank you.
Just Fenton, you don't need to hear this. What night is the dinner?
I believe it'll probably be the last night.
Yeah, I don't think Finton will be there, but I can come.
All right. Well, in case it's the night before, Finton, we'll invite you. But sure. If not, John, seat's yours. Hey,
as long as it's meat, I'm good.
Yeah, we do a really my VP of marketing. He's a foodie, and it's funny. We were slacking back and forth. And he was like, "Hey, do you want to like pick one over the weekend?" I'm like, "Look, food is just fuel for me. Like, I just need calories. Like, I really don't care like what the taste is. Probably not best I pick. So he picks good spots."
good to know. So, Fintan, you might get lucky. Although Fintan is very busy at ICE. I'm not so much.
So are you guys just walking the floor? Are you guys gonna have?
We've got the Gambling Book Awards and Gambling Industry Journalist Awards on the Monday night. So we're very excited about that. That's going to take up.
Congratulations! Yeah.
Yeah. So we're running and hosting those.
That is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
It is. We've got authors flying in from all around the world, which is pretty cool.
We have.
It sounds like you have quite the dance card on your hands, at least for the start of the event.
Yeah.
I'm going to be covering some of the event for IGB as well, for Ice Daily, actually, for the Ice Daily publication. Ice Daily.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. So I will actually be there with purpose, Fintan. I won't just be swanning around eating peanuts occasionally. I'll be working. You won't know what's hit you. You'll have never seen the like.
I fucking can't wait.
You'll be like, wow, this is what he looks like when he's working.
I'll have to ring Robin for tips. How'd you get him to do that?
Well, it's not Robin. That's why.
It's not.
I think that's the kid. No, I'm just kidding, Robin, just in case he's listening. So we'll maybe see you at Ice, Bruce.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Until then, stay metal. If you've enjoyed this episode of the Gambling Files podcast, please find us on LinkedIn. Give us a big, juicy, succulent like. That nearly went wrong. You can find us under the name The Gambling Files Podcast. You can find us on Twitter under The Gambling Files. I think the handle is just @GamblingFiles. You can connect to myself, John Bruford, or Fintan Costello, also on LinkedIn. We're also both on Twitter. And you can find all of our previous episodes at www.thegamblingfiles.com. If you enjoyed it, please share, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your colleagues, and we'll see you next time.